Hello and welcome to the program, Sula's Big Adventures with me, Sula. This episode is going to be a binoculars tour of the spring sky. I've got two pairs of binoculars because I have to be honest, the spring sky is harder than the winter sky. But I'll throw in some easy ones that anyone can see, even from your backyard if you live in a light polluted area. But some of them are going to be challenging. So I have this pair of 15 by 70. These are very cheap binoculars. They have a lot of chromatic aberration, but I think they'll give me a little more light gathering power to get some of the faint things we're going to be looking for. But I also have a pair of 10 by 42s that are much nicer. And it's not quite dark enough, but as soon as the sun goes down, we'll get started. It helps if you go to a dark sky site, especially with some of the fainter things, but you can go to your backyard if that's the only place you can go to, and I'll give you directions. If you can't see them, I hope you'll see at least some of the items on my spring tour. Just a few tips before you head out for your binoculars tour of the spring sky. Don't forget your red headlamp. Take a star chart such as the Pocket Sky Atlas. If your binoculars accept an adapter, don't forget your tripod and attach your binoculars to your tripod. If your binoculars don't accept an adapter, take the tripod anyway and just rest your binoculars against the tripod to stabilize it, and that will make it easier. Remember the distances. Your pinky is 1 degree, 3 fingers is 5 degrees, your fist is 10 degrees, your index finger and your pinky is 15 degrees, and your thumb and your pinky is 20 degrees, all with your arm extended fully toward the sky. And keep in mind that you may not see all the objects. There are many factors that affect what you see in the sky. Familiarity, of course, but knowing what to look for and the sky conditions, how light polluted your area is, and the transparency in the seeing. And if you live in a light polluted area, it will make it more difficult. If you're able to go to a dark sky site, I strongly recommend it because it will make it a lot easier to see these things. But most of all, be patient and have fun. For the spring tour, I strongly suggest you use a star chart such as the Sky and Telescope Pocket Sky Atlas or Jumbo Sky Atlas. We're going to start in Cancer. It's a very faint constellation, but you can find it halfway between Regulus, the brightest star, and Leo, the lion, and Pollux, one of the 2 stars in Gemini, the twins. About halfway between, you should be able to spot the naked eye object, M44, the Beehive Cluster. And we're going to look near there for Zeta Cancri, also known as Tegmine. It's a double star in Cancer, and you won't be able to split the primary star, but you should be able to split the primary star and the BC star with binoculars. So I'll point it out where you need to look in the sky to look for Tegmine. Okay, this is the asterism known as the sickle or backward question mark. There's Regulus. There's Pollux and Castor and Gemini. And there's the Beehive Cluster. And below it is Tegmine. The Beehive Cluster is a naked eye object, M44. Once you have M44 in your binoculars, now you're going to go 5 degrees west and a little bit south to a magnitude 5.58 star. This star is Zeta 1 and Zeta 2. You won't be able to split it because it's only 1 arc second apart and difficult for even a large telescope, but in a small telescope or large binoculars, you might be able to split Zeta 1 and Zeta 2, which are both about magnitude 5 and are 6 arc seconds apart. It's going to be tough. But here's the beehive, and you're going to go 5 degrees west and south a little bit. If you had trouble finding Tegmine, much less splitting it, don't worry. That was a hard one. But now we're going to look at something very easy. Malot 111, also known as the coma cluster, also visible to the naked eye and perfect for binoculars. It's huge. It's going to be in Coma Berenices, and it's going to be near the Big Dipper. So let's look at the Big Dipper, and I'll tell you how to find it from there. What we want to do is find the Big Dipper and go to the last star in the handle of the Big Dipper, Alkaid. And there's Alkaid. And make a line about 10 degrees to a 5th magnitude star. That's Corcoroli, the brightest star in Canis Venatici. And then make a same line 10 degrees more, and visible to the naked eye is a large open cluster, Malot 111. Beautiful in binoculars. Beautiful. Sometimes if it's really high in the sky, you may have to tilt your tripod back if you have one like I do that doesn't go all the way to the zenith. So you just tilt it like that. But putting it on a tripod to make it stable helps a lot. And also try to go out when there isn't a moon, because the moon really interferes. Okay, now let's find a pair of galaxies in Ursa Major. Looking for M81 and M82, a pair of galaxies visible in binoculars but hard to find. And the best way I know to find them is to find the bowl of the Big Dipper. Here's the bowl. And these two stars are the pointer stars, Merak and Dubhe. And this star is Phecda. What we want to do is go to Phecda and draw a line from Phecda to Dubhe. And Phecda to Dubhe is almost exactly 10 degrees. And if you continue that line from Phecda to Dubhe another 10 degrees, you'll see a faint smudge. You'll probably see M81, which is a little bit easier to see, and 3/4 of a degree north of it, M82. So Phecda to Dubhe and another 10 degrees in the same line. The way to find it is to go to Dubhe and go out to the next star visible to the naked eye, star 23, and go down to 3 very faint stars in a triangle, Pho and Omicron or something like that, and then go in a little bit. To me, it's a little harder to find it that way than just drawing the line from Phecda to Dubhe and looking for a smudge. 81 is bigger and brighter at magnitude 6.9, and M82 is magnitude 8.4, so you may have a hard time seeing M82, but if you're in a dark enough place, you should be able to see M81, and it's a spiral galaxy, whereas M82 is of undetermined shape. Wow, looking at a galaxy. Well, I hope you were able to at least see M81. If not, now here's something really easy. Let's go back to the Big Dipper. Look in the handle for a very famous double star, Mizar and Alcor. They're only optical double, but it's pretty neat to look at it with the naked eye. It looks like one star, and then when you put your binoculars on it, you see that it's 2 stars. It's the middle star in the handle, Mizar and Alcor. Mizar is actually a binary star, but you won't be able to split it with binoculars. But you can try. Mizar is actually a binary star, and you can try to split it with binoculars. Certainly easier than Tegmine. Mizar's components are 14 arc seconds apart. So give it a try. And if you can't, you at least saw Mizar and Alcor. Pretty neat, huh? Everyone should have been able to see that one. Now we're going to look for a carbon star. One of the most famous carbon stars, Mu Cephei, also known as the garnet star, so named by William Herschel. It's really something to look at in the fall, but I put Cepheus in the spring because I was trying to fit everything in. So it's going to be very low on the horizon right now. You might not be able to see it. If you're below 32 degrees latitude, you won't be able to see it. But I can see it. It's just above the horizon for me. To find Cepheus, the constellation, let's go to the Big Dipper, to the pointer stars, Merodach and Dubhe, and they point to Polaris, which is in the Little Dipper, and if you keep going, it'll point to the top of Cepheus. Pointer stars will point to Polaris, which is in the Little Dipper, and if you keep going in the same line, that will point to Cepheus. It's going to be low on the horizon this time of year. So from the pointer stars to Polaris and the Little Dipper, keep going, and that will put you to the top of Cepheus. And the brightest star is Aldebaran, which is going to be west of there. And the garnet star is going to be near Aldebaran, the brightest star in Cepheus, low on the horizon, and I mean low. So here are the pointer stars in the Big Dipper pointing to Polaris. And Herschel's garnet star is almost in a straight line down from Polaris to the horizon. It's magnitude 3.9, so visible to the naked eye, and in binoculars it should appear very red. Okay, my apologies if you can't see Herschel's garnet star because it's too low or the northern horizon is blocked for you. But try again in the fall because it's beautiful. Very red star. So if you couldn't see Herschel's garnet star, we have another carbon star that I know you'll be able to see, and that's La Superba and Canis Venatici. So let's go back to the Big Dipper and find Canis Venatici and its brightest star, Cor Caroli. On La Superba, let's go to the last star on the handle of the Big Dipper, Alkaid, which is right here. And we're going to go about 10 degrees north and west a little bit to a magnitude 2.8 star, the brightest star in Canis Venatici, Cor Caroli. It's a beautiful double star. It may look a little bit blue in your binoculars, and you can try to split it. They're both magnitude 2.8, and they're 19 arc seconds apart, and they're just beautiful. A blue and gold double star, Cor Caroli, right there. Now the second brightest star in Canis Venatici is Chara, and it's not very bright, but it's about right there. And then La Superba will be left of Chara, if you can see Chara, almost exactly 5 degrees. And it's red. It'll appear very red in your binoculars. I don't think my lasers, I don't think you can see it, can you? Talk on it. Laser, it's not cooperating, but if you can find Chara, which is 15 degrees southwest of Cor Caroli, then you go 5 degrees northeast or left, almost exactly 5 degrees, to a very beautiful, very red carbon star, La Superba, also known as Gamma Canum Venaticorum. But it's a variable star, so it's at its reddest when it's at its brightest. Another way to find it is to go to Mizar, the middle star and the handle of the Big Dipper, and make a line connecting Mizar to Chara, but Chara can be challenging to see if you're in a light polluted area. So you can find Gamma Canum venaticorum about a third of the way from Cor Caroli to Magrez. And that is another star in the handle of the Big Dipper. Superba will be redder than any other star in the vicinity, but depending on whether it's at its dimmest at the time you're looking at it, you may not be able to see it with your unaided eye, but you will definitely be able to see it with binoculars even when it's at its dimmest. Now let's go back to Cor Caroli, the brightest star in Canis Venatici, and in between it and the brightest star in Boötes, Arcturus, we're going to find one of the most spectacular globular clusters in the sky, M3, also in Canis Venatici. We're going to draw a line from Arcturus to Cor Caroli, and M3 will be about 12 degrees north of Arcturus, heading toward Cor Caroli. Its magnitude 6.3 and 33,000 light years away. Fortunately, my laser is no longer working, but so there's Cor Caroli. And that bright star is Arcturus. So we're going to make a line from Arcturus to Cor Caroli. And in that line, about 12 degrees up from Arcturus, headed towards Cor Caroli, you should be able to see a globular cluster, which will be a tight ball, a smudge. It's just beautiful. Wow. Beautiful. Now we're going to look at a double star in Boötes, Alcaleurops. You won't be able to split the main components, they're too tight, but you can try to split, I should say, the A star with the BC stars. I think they're 7.6 arc seconds apart, so a little tough, but give it a try. It's easy enough to find Alcaleurops, and it's fun to say it. And Alcaleurops, we need to find Arcturus, the brightest star in the spring sky. And you go to the last star in the handle of the Big Dipper and arc to Arcturus. And that is the brightest star in Boötes, which some people think looks like a kite. It's on its side right now. But if you go from Arcturus to the east, to the next brightest star in the kite, that's Izar, which is a tight double you will not be able to split, and then keep going to another star visible to the naked eye. I think that's Delta Boöti, and then keep going east, and there'll be an obvious double star, and that is Alcaleurops. Now we're going to look at a beautiful double star in Hercules. It's the brightest star in Hercules, Rassel-Gethy, or Alpha Herculitis, and its magnitude 3.5, so visible to the naked eye. You start in the keystone of Hercules and draw a line from the top left one down through the bottom right one and continuing for 10 degrees down, and you should see a 3.5 magnitude star. And you can try to split it. It's going to be tough, honestly. It's 4.9 arc seconds apart, but look at it and see if you can. If you can't, that's okay, because next we're going to look at something very spectacular, also in Hercules. The easiest way to find it is to find Arcturus, the brightest star in the spring sky that you arc to from the handle of the Big Dipper. And below that will be the semicircle Corona Borealis, the crown. And below the crown, you'll see the trapezoid or keystone that is Hercules. And this tree is blocking it, but draw a line through the top of the trapezoid, through the bottom of the trapezoid, until you see a bright star, the brightest star in Hercules. That's Rassel-Gethy. Go below Corona Borealis to the trapezoid that makes up the keystone of Hercules, and to the east of that is a smaller trapezoid, which is the head of Draco the dragon, and M92 is going to be in between Draco's head and the keystone. And if you see the two stars that make the left-hand side of the trapezoid of Hercules, M92 will make an isosceles triangle with those two stars. It's going to be a tight ball and a fuzzy patch in binoculars. Now we're going to look at a beautiful globular cluster in Serpens caput. I don't know how to pronounce it. It should really be in summer, but we're going to be very busy this summer. So I'm putting it in spring. To find it, find Arcturus in Boötes and Spica in Virgo. And it's going to make an isosceles triangle with Spica and Arcturus. Another way to find it is to find Corona Borealis and go west, and go west until you see a magnitude 2 star. That's the brightest star in Serpens caput. And from there, we can find M5, a beautiful globular cluster. If you're in a very dark place, you should be able to see it with your naked eye. It'll look like a hazy patch in your binoculars. If you can see Alphecca, the brightest star in Corona Borealis, off to the left-hand side of the screen, and go down to BINOCULARS, the brightest star in Serpens caput. If you can find that, you go northwest 7.5 degrees, and you'll see a hazy patch, and that's M5. And it's also an isosceles triangle with Arcturus and Spica. And if you're up late enough, you'll see two stars low on the horizon, and that's Libra rising. And those two stars are Zuben Ganubi and Zuben Shimali. Another fun thing to say. And Zuben Janubi is a double star. So put your binoculars on that for bonus points for a double star, Zuben Janubi in Libra. But hopefully you found M5 because it's beautiful. If you can find Zuben Janubi, double star in Libra, M5 is almost exactly 12 degrees north of it. That's another way to find it. I love globular clusters, but don't ever shine a light in your eyes when you're trying to look at things in the night sky. M5 is 24,000 light years away, and its magnitude 5.6. But now we're going to look at the most spectacular globular cluster in the night sky. It's just beautiful in binoculars. It's our last object, and we're going to end with something special. M13, the Hercules cluster, also known as the Keystone cluster in Hercules. I'll show you how to find it. It's actually pretty easy, but you just need to find the keystone that makes up Hercules. So to find it, let's find Arcturus, the bright star in Boötes that you arc to from the handle of the Big Dipper. And below Arcturus will be the crown, Corona Borealis, and below Corona Borealis will be a keystone, a trapezoid, and those four stars are the keystone of Hercules. And the top two stars is where we're going to find M13. Start with the one on the left and go 7.5 degrees toward the one on the right, and you'll find a hazy patch that's just beautiful in binoculars, and that is M13, the Hercules cluster. Zoom in on it and see if it shows up on here. I can see it. I don't know if it'll show up on the screen, but there it is. M13, the Hercules cluster. Wow. It's spectacular. It's 25,000 light years away, and it's magnitude 5.8, and it's just beautiful in binoculars. Well, that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm sorry my laser pointer died again, but I'll see you soon. Dark skies forever. Sula signing off.